Okay. Last class we have started multi-threading, guys. Okay, and we have discussed what is thread, what is process, and what is multitasking, thread-based multitasking, and process-based multitasking. And coming to threads, how many ways of creating threads? So we have discussed in the last class only creating of thread by extending thread class. That topic we have discussed. Today we are going to start off using another approach of creating thread class by implementing runnable interface. Okay, by implementing runnable interface. The first approach is of extends 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 thread class, right? That we have discussed already in the last class. So what exactly happening in the last class, like how what we did? Let's see one program, and uh, then we'll go for threads. Yeah, let's take it off on thread. Yeah, not this. Take it any. Hmm. Anything that we can take it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this is of thread class. So this is extending of extends thread. Okay, so to get our class as a thread behavior compulsory, we need to do either we need to extend our class as a thread class, or we need to implement our class as implements runnable interface. So we have completed of approach extending of thread class. So if we are extending thread class, normally we need to override run method to perform our task. What exactly we need to work by thread? So whichever the work that you want to finish by thread, that task we need to we need to add the task inside run method. Inside run method, by overriding run method in our class, we need to add our task inside run method. Okay, whenever we are calling of whenever we are calling run method whenever we are calling run method internally, it will sorry, whenever you are calling of start method internally, it will call of run method. Internally the start method will call run method. Okay, second, guys. Internally it will call of run method to perform our specific task. Okay, now let's run it. Where is the main method? Inside the main method of created a one thread class, and we are started off start method. Internally it will call off run method. Okay, now let's, instead of 100, make it simple 5. Okay, for easy we can see the output as simply. See that we have created of two threads. One is for M1, another one is for M2. So M1 is one thread and M2 is also one thread. Separate threads we have created, and then we are calling of start method. In that case, it is two threads is created. One is thread 0 and thread 1. Okay, two threads are started. Both are completed its task simultaneously. Okay, it is 0, 1, is completed of thread 0, and it is giving chance to thread 1, and it is finished of 0 1 2 3, and it is giving chance of thread 0 again. Okay, so this is of one way of extending a thread class, and overriding of run method to perform our specific task, and then call of start method. Internally it will call of run method. Okay, now let's go to another approach is implements runnable interface. Implements runnable interface means, let's take off another example class. Okay, my thread 2. Okay, my thread 2, and finish it. Now, so before case, we are extending thread class, right? Before we are extending thread class to get off our class as thread behavior. Now this time, this topic is already over. Now another topic is another way of creating thread class is implements runnable interface. Implementing of runnable interface. Now see, it is giving off one error. The reason is inside runnable interface, there is a method called run method is available. There is a method run method. Okay, abstract run method is there. We need to provide implementation for this run method in our class. Just keep the cursor there and add unimplemented methods. It will add that method. We can perform of our task. This is the syntax. Just assume syntax. If you want to implement of, if you want to implement a thread class, if you want to implement a thread class by using runnable interface, then this is the way we can create of another approach. Let's take it off one example. Let's take it off one example. Now, so whatever the task that you want to perform inside this case, what we are doing, we are adding up our task inside. 1 second. Yeah, we are adding our task inside run method, but this class is extending thread class. Now let's add up that code here. Okay, Control Z. Now, so next, what we need to do, we need to create object of this class, and we need to add inside. We need to add this object. Now let's create of another class, or within this class is also fine main method. Okay, and create a object of this class. Create object of my thread to empty equal to new my thread to. Okay, we have created object of this class, and we need to pass this object to the thread class. Okay, we need to pass this object to thread class. Thread t equal to new thread. Okay, and we need to pass off this my thread class object to the thread class constructor. Okay, then internally it will call off whenever you are calling off t dot start, then internally it will call off the this class run method. It will call. Now let's see. Now t dot t dot start. Okay, now internally the t dot start method will call off this run method. So we actually we created a thread class, even we are not extended, right, thread. So but still we are our own thread class object we are passing to thread class constructor. So internally it will call off this t object will call run method of empty class my thread class to run method will call. Now let's debug, and then we'll come to know that. See that it is calling of it is calling of even I didn't call run method, right, directly, right. So I'm passing the my thread class object to thread class constructor. Internally that is calling our thread class run method is calling. See, then it will going to start off another finish it. Now let's see the full output. Yeah, so it is calling of how the run method which we are implemented, which implements of runnable interface method. Okay, so whichever the class that we have implemented of that runnable interface, that run class method is called by thread class start method. Okay, so if you are not passing this one, then it is not happening, then it is not correct. It will not call that again. It is a it is different, nothing will get, because so to call off our run method, our my thread class run method, compulsory we need to pass off this object to thread class constructor. But in case of previous case, our class is extending thread class. Class test is extending of thread class. So directly whatever the methods of this class is available to test class, right? So directly we created object of we have created object of remove this and try if you want any confusion to avoid of confusions. See, so directly our class object we have created, and then t dot start, because here extended our class is by thread class, but here it is of our class is extending, not extending, it is implementing a runnable interface. It is implementing of runnable interface. In this case, we are not to get the thread behavior. We need to pass this class to. We need to pass this class object to thread class constructor. Then only we'll get off then only internally the start method will call off our class run method. Okay, that's what the difference between these two. Okay, now let's go and read the document of yeah, implementing Java.lang runnable interface. Another way of creating a thread is implement runnable interface of Java.lang package. Okay. Now runnable interface has only one abstract method, that is called run method. That is run method. Now you have to implement this method and keep our task whatever you want to perform by the thread, that we need to the task we need to keep inside of the run method. Okay. Now, here is the syntax for creating of a thread class by implementing runnable interface. Create our own class, okay, and implements that class with runnable interface. Whenever you are adding of implements runnable interface, obviously we'll get off an error to implement of run method which is available in the runnable interface. Okay, whatever the task that you want to perform, we can keep inside of that run method. Okay, now let's the calling of start method is different from calling of a start method from thread class extension. Okay, after defining a thread, this is of defining a thread. Okay, this is defining a thread. So create object to thread class, create object to thread class. Okay, through constructor. Okay, which takes runnable type of an argument, runnable type of as an argument, pass the object of your thread class that implements runnable interface as an argument to it, and then call start method. That's what we did. So we created our own class. Which class? MyThread2 class implements runnable interface. We need to create object of the MyThread2 class, and we need to pass this. We need to pass this object to thread class constructor, and then we can call off the start method from this thread class object. That's what this is the meaning of this. Okay, now see, my thread my thread my thread equal to new my thread. This is of creating an object of your thread that implements runnable interface. Okay, this is of creating object to our class that implements runnable interface. And next line, thread t equal to new thread of my thread. So passing your thread object, passing our thread class object to the constructor of thread class, constructor of thread class. Okay, in this line. Next, after that we can call off start method by using of a thread class object. That's what this one, whatever that we have shown is of almost same. If you want, nothing, everything is same only. Okay, just for 0 to 10. Okay, and I have just created of my thread class. It is of instantiating your thread class. I have given some comment also, and create object of thread class, and pass that my thread class object to the constructor of thread class, and then you can call off start method. This is of another way of another way of creating thread class object and executing of run method internally. Okay, there is another way. Okay, now we are seeing of two approaches, right? We are seeing by extending of thread class is one way, and by implementing of runnable interface is also another way of creating a thread class. But which one is the best one? Okay, which one is a best approach to creating of a thread? To creating of a thread, which one is the best one? Means out of these two, okay, out of these two, implements runnable interface approach, which we have implemented just now. That is the best approach. So why it is a best approach? Okay, the reason is if we are if we are using of if our class is extending thread class, then our class cannot extend of any other classes, then our class cannot extend of any other classes. Then in that case, our thread class will miss off the inheritance feature. Our thread class will miss off the benefits of the inheritance will be missed by our class if we are extending of thread class. Okay, That's a for suppose if you are going for the second approach of like implementing of runnable interface, then in that case a class can implements multiple interface and it can extend of another class also. Now let's say if I want class class test 3, just assume I created of m1 method of m1 set of one m1 method system.out.println of m1 method in test class. Okay, m1 method in test class. Static. Can keep up. Instead of one method. Now, so if I want to call off this method, okay, if I want to call off this method, so then I want to extend off extends is possible test 3. Okay, extends test 3 is possible if we are implementing runnable interface. So our thread class can extend off another class and that class can implement of runnable interface. Okay, if you are using of directly extents of thread class, then in that case our class cannot extend of any other class. We can't write of extends. Another time we can't extends test 3 extends of test instance of another class we can't, because a class can extend of only one another only one class. A class already we are extending of thread class, so we can't extend of any other class. Okay, so that means we are missing of inheritance features if you are extending thread class. Suppose if you are implementing, if you are using of implement runnable interface, then we can use of inheritance feature. Then we can use of inheritance future. Okay, okay, that's what out of those two approaches, second approach is best one. So among the two ways of defining a thread, implements runnable interface is the best approach. Okay, the reason is first approach means then in that case our class should always extend thread class. There is no chance of extending another class, right? So we are missing the benefit of inheritance concepts. Inheritance feature is missing if you are extending thread class. But in case of second approach, while implementing runnable interface, we can extend of some other class also. We can extend of some other class also. This is the example. Okay, we can extend of another class also. So hence, the implements runnable interface is recommended approach for defining a thread. Okay, now second approach is the best one for defining or for creating a thread. Okay. Now these are the two ways of creating threads. Okay. Now next is the types of threads. Till now we are created of how to create a thread. Till now we are discussed. One is by extending a thread class. Other one is by implementing a runnable interface. Now the question is again, how many types of threads is there? How many types of threads is there? Now there are two types of threads. There are two types of threads. What are those? And now let's see that. Now types of types of threads is types of threads is like one is a user defined thread, and the second one is daemon thread. Okay, one is user defined thread or user thread. Other one is daemon thread. Okay, another one is daemon thread. Okay, daemon thread. So what is user defined thread or user thread? What is user defined thread or user thread means the threads class, the threads which we are created, the threads which we are created in the application. Okay, the threads which we are created by the application or user. Okay, whichever the threads that we are created, then I can say like this is my user defined thread, because this thread is created by me, right? This is our own thread, because this thread is created by ourselves. So we can say this thread is we'll call it as a user defined thread. Okay. Now, and user defined threads are priority threads. User defined threads are priority threads means, let's say, who is going to execute our code? JVM, right or not? Who is executing this calling of main method? JVM, right? So internally JVM, we internally inside the main method, we are creating a for thread, and the thread is executing of start method. Internally it is calling of run method, right? So who is going to execute of all these things? Internally JVM will execute, right? Internally JVM will execute of all these things. So now JVM, our threads, whatever the threads that we are created, so the JVM make this as a high priority threads. Whatever the threads that which user created by user, the threads which are created by user, so JVM will treat them as a high priority threads. Okay. JVM will not exit. JVM will not exit until and unless all the user defined threads are finished their execution. All user defined threads are finished their execution, until that JVM cannot exit out of the method. Until JVM cannot exit that. Okay. JVM will wait until finishing of all the threads. Until finishing of all the threads. Now let's say if I'm creating of 10 threads of our user defined threads. Okay. And until finishing of all the user defined threads, JVM will not exit. Okay. But now go to, we'll see that also. Now the other one is daemon threads. Other one is daemon threads. What is daemon threads? Daemon threads will not create it. Daemon threads will not create. Daemon threads will be created by JVM. Okay. What is the use of daemon threads? User threads is, okay. Now we are created one thread means that is for our own purpose, to performing of our some task, right? But in case of what is the use of daemon thread means, daemon threads will be created by JVM. So who is going to use of those daemon threads? JVM internally utilize for clearing of unused objects from the memory. So that means internally to run off the garbage collector, JVM will start some daemon threads. JVM will start off some daemon threads to perform of some cleanup activities, or to background. So those threads will be run in the background. Those threads will be run in the background always. Okay. Now, so those threads are less priority. Those threads are less priority. Let's say our threads we are created, our threads execution is finished, but still daemon thread execution is not finished. Then in that case, JVM will not wait for the daemon threads to finish its execution. Once user threads is completed its task, then JVM will come out of that method. JVM will finish. Okay. JVM will not wait for the daemon threads to finish its execution. Okay. JVM will exit as soon as all the user threads finishing its execution. Okay. Now let's see that some examples also we'll see. There are two types of threads, user threads and daemon thread, guys. User threads are which are created by the application or user. Then the developer is creating these threads. They are high priority threads. They were high priority threads. JVM will not exit until all user threads are finished their execution. Until all user threads are finished their execution, JVM will wait for these threads to finish its task. JVM will wait until it is finishing of all user defined task, or user defined threads are finishing its task. Okay. These threads are foreground threads. These threads are foreground threads, and daemon threads are background threads. Okay. Now let's see daemon thread. Daemon thread means daemon threads are threads which are mostly created by JVM. We will not create of daemon threads. These daemon threads will be created by JVM whenever we are executing our application. Okay, those threads will always run in the background only. Daemon threads will run in the background. Okay, those are background threads. Okay, these threads are used to, what is the use of those background threads means, these threads are used to perform of some background task like garbage collection. If any unused objects is available in the garbage collect in the heap memory means, then so who is responsible? JVM internally will delete that by using of daemon threads. With the help of daemon threads, JVM will delete the unused objects from the memory. Okay, now, these threads are less priority threads. These threads are less priority threads. JVM will not wait for JVM will not wait for these threads to finish execution. Okay, once JVM will exit as soon as all the user threads finish their execution. JVM does not wait for daemon threads to finish their task. Okay, and there is a way and there is a way to convert user defined thread also into daemon thread. There is a way to convert user defined thread into daemon thread by using a method called set daemon method. There is a method called set daemon of true means, then that thread will become a daemon thread. That thread will become daemon thread. Okay, now let's see one example also. Let's see of one example. Let's create of one class. So you can't set a daemon property after starting a thread. Okay, so this set daemon method we can call only before calling of before calling the start method of a thread. Before calling of start method of a thread only we need to set it. Okay, after that we can't. Okay, if you try to set the daemon property when the thread is active, it will throw off illegal thread state exception. It will throw at runtime exception. That also will see the practically. Now let's create of one user defined thread. Now close it. Class user thread. Okay, class user thread and extends of thread class. Okay, and add of run method. Add of run method and keep our task. Write off some for loop. System.out.println user thread. User thread plus I value. User thread and I value. Now after run method is defined, create our another class. Create our another class. User thread test. Create some class with some main method. So to call off this run method, to call off user thread run method, what we need to do? We need to create of user thread class. You equal to new user thread. Okay, create of user thread class and then u dot start method. U dot start method and system.out.println of main method ended. Main method is ended. Now let's see, it will print and then even though main method is completed, the last line of main method is completed also, it is not finished, it is not exited of it is not exited of the user defined thread until finishing of its 10 time iterations. It need to execute of this for loop 10 times, but after finishing of main method also it is completing its work. The JVM is not exiting. Okay, now what we need to do? Now change the our thread to u dot set daemon true. Then this thread will become then this thread will becoming as a daemon thread. Then this thread will becoming as daemon thread. If you want, you can see system.out.println of system.out.println of user user yes user thread is daemon. Daemon. So now u dot is there is a method called is daemon. Okay, if it is returning as true means then it is a daemon thread. If it is returning as false means then it is a not a daemon thread. Now let's see without daemon. Let's see, is it daemon? False means it is not a daemon thread. Now make it as daemon thread. Okay, and now let's see. See, so daemon thread it is printing only 4 threads. So that means that from this you should understood JVM will not wait for JVM will not wait for the daemon thread to finish. I made our thread as daemon thread. So yeah, it has to execute 10 times actually. Okay, but by the time of it is executing, so it is only up to 4 times only it is iterated, up to 4 times only it is iterated. The rest of the times it is not allowing to execute. JVM is not waited, so it is not waiting for to finish its daemon threads execution. Okay, let's say for suppose if it is a user defined thread, even though it is executing first also, it will wait. JVM will wait until finishing of how many number of times you execute. It will execute of always 10 times it will execute. Okay, always. But if you make the thread as a daemon thread, our thread as a daemon thread, JVM will not wait for the daemon threads to finish its execution. Okay, see, this time it is finished everything. Okay, and sometimes it will not finish its see, it is not started also. Okay, from this you might have getting idea, right? JVM will not wait for the daemon threads to finish its execution. Okay, so now let's come down. So what we are doing, creating a see, creating a user thread and changing that thread to daemon thread and starting a thread and the statement. Yeah, now after starting a thread, if I'm making this as after starting a thread, then it will throw an exception because already thread is started, so you can't change that thread state, you can't change the thread state, so it will not allow for that. Okay, now next go and read the document. You can check whether thread is a user thread or daemon thread by using a isDaemon method of thread class. This method returns true for daemon thread, false for user thread. Okay, now daemon thread and user thread we have tested. We will take up maybe one more example for user thread and daemon threads explanation. Okay, let's take the task of daemon thread. The task of daemon thread will not be completed and program terminates as soon as the user thread finishes its task. It will not wait for daemon thread to finish its task. Let's take off some example. User T and daemon thread. Let's get off 2 threads. Okay, now close it. Control N. Task user thread thread 1. Let's take off whatever this. So you can also copy paste off and then you can test it. Okay, so let me take off this one. Is of user thread extends extends of thread. Okay, this is user thread. Next, take it off one more class. One more class. F one more class daemon thread extending of thread class, and daemon thread constructor execution time I'm setting it is a daemon thread. Set daemon of true means then it is a daemon thread. Okay, so what is the task of daemon thread is it is a printing of 0 to 1000 is the task of daemon thread work, and printing of just this message is a task of user thread. Okay, now let's create of the main method and we will test one class. Okay, class daemon test main method and copy paste of this code over that we have. Okay, main method, and you can utilize of this one. Now it is of user thread, user thread 1 of user thread 1. So what I am doing, first I created a daemon thread and it is started. Okay, and user thread is also created and it is started. Right, now let's see how many is there. This is a daemon thread. Actually, what is the task of daemon thread? The task of daemon thread is printing of 1000 times. Printing of 1000 times. Okay. The task of user thread is only simple one line. Let's see somewhere it might be executed. Somewhere it might be executed. Where is that? Yeah. See, this is of user thread. User thread is finished its execution. Right? Now let's say for suppose if I am commenting this line, it will print off 1000 times. It will print off 1000 times. There is no guarantee in that. 100% it will execute of thousand times. So this thread is becoming as a user defined thread. It is not a daemon thread. So compulsory JVM will execute will wait to finish until 1000 times its iteration. If it is a daemon thread means it will never wait. It will never wait to finish the daemon thread its execution. Okay. This is of example for testing of daemon thread. JVM will not fair will not wait for the daemon thread to finish its execution. See, this time it is only 20 times. Now let's see if it will change that. This time only one time. Okay. Now let's see. This time it is going to only 6 times. So whatever that main method user thread is executing, so until that daemon thread will execute, that we can see. So after that the task whatever that is there, JVM will not wait. It will exit of that. Okay. That's what the daemon thread and user thread difference. And so is it clear, guys? Daemon thread and user thread. Yeah, go ahead. We'll create a 100% user defined thread only. There is no doubt in that. Daemon threads will be created by JVM to run the background task. We will not create any daemon task. Daemon threads will not create. Always developer will create of only user threads. So why we will, how to know means if your class is extending, if our any class is extending of thread class, then I can say it is a thread class. It is a thread. If the class is implementing of runnable interface, if the class is implementing of runnable interface also, then I can say that is also a thread. So implementing runnable interface for class, I create one class. Then if that class is implements runnable interface, then also we can say that class is a thread. Simply I can't say this is a thread, and I can't say this is a thread class. I can't say B is a thread because it is not extending either thread class or not implements runnable interface. Both is not done. So then I can say that is not a thread class. But I can say the my thread 2 or my thread, I can say it is a thread class because both are extending either thread class or runnable interface. Is it clear? Now, now, so let's say in our program, we are creating of 10 threads or 100 threads. So how to know our thread? So which is my thread? Okay. So instead of giving threads, JVM will create threads by giving thread 0, thread 1, thread 2, like that it will create the threads. Okay. Now let's say for example, let's go and yeah, demand test, leave it this. Okay. Now I want to create a let's say 1, 2, 3. Now use a thread 1 dot start. How many threads I'm created? 4 threads, right? I created of 4 threads and 4 threads is started. I want to know the it is of daemon user thread. I want to know the name of the thread. Okay. System.out.println thread name equal to thread dot current thread dot get name. Okay, it will give the name of the thread. Okay, so 4 times we have created a 4 threads. It will give 4 names for 4 threads. Thread 0, 1, 2, 3, like that. See, it is going to give off names for name of the thread. First thread is thread 0, thread 1, thread 3, and thread 2. It will give the name is like if you are creating of 100, then it will execute of 100 times. Then it will create of 100 times, like that thread 100. So, so instead of that, if you are giving the name of the thread as some name, you are planning to give for your thread has some name to your thread, then there is a method called set name. There is a method called set name. Now let's see. Let's see that. So thread dot start. After that dot set name. There is a method called set name. Now let's see. Name of thread is my thread. My thread. Just I am given as my thread or IBC thread. IBC. Just assume IBC thread. Now let's see. It will print as the name of the thread is IBC thread. Thread name is IBC thread. So in that case, easily we can identify our threads while executing of our code. Which thread is executed? Our code. So we can easily identify our thread name. Yes, this is executed IBC thread. This is executed by IBC thread. If you want to know the thread name specifically, okay, then you can use of either directly here or use thread dot get name. Okay, get name also we can use it. System control X system.out.println of see that's all. This also will give as here we are setting the name of the thread. Here we are getting the name of the thread of which is that is executing user thread name. See, thread name is see it is printing of IBC thread and we are printed of inside the run method also, right? Won't run it. IBC thread as well as this is a user thread. This is a user thread. Okay. Now it is of setting the name, setting the name of a thread. Now let's read it. Naming a thread. So you can give a name to the thread by using a set name method. Set name method of thread class. There is in the thread class. We have a lot of methods is there. Okay, for different purposes. So set name is for setting the name of the thread. Okay, you can also retrieve the name of the thread by using a get name of the method. Get name method of thread class. These two methods are public and final. So we can't override this method. So they made it as a public and final. So final means we can't override that method which is available in the thread class. So it will not allow that. That's the reason they made these two methods as final methods. So below method is method signatures for setter method and getter methods. See, public final void set name. It will take one argument. This is the name of the thread. It changes the name of the thread to that name whichever you are giving here. So this method is get name method will return the name of the thread. Just setter method. Just assume like for the name, set name and get name. So set name is for setting the name of the thread. Get name is for getting the name of the thread. Okay. Now let's see. This is the class and this is of overriding a method. Okay. Now let's this of creating our class and started the thread and see thread dot set name. This is a my thread. Okay, giving name to some thread. So whichever name you want, you can give that name to your thread. Okay, that name will come. So see thread dot get name. This will give the name of the thread that we are printing here. Okay. Set name method. Set name method may throw an security exception at runtime if the current thread cannot modify the name of the thread. So sometimes thread is busy. Sometimes thread is full busy. It is not able to modify. It is not able to update the name of our thread by using a update thread. So it is not able to modify that name to thread 02 IBC thread. Then in that case, it will throw an security exception. In that case, if the thread is the JVM is not able to modify that thread name, then it will throw an security exception. Okay, and you can change the name of thread at any state. So whatever the givens, whatever the states is there, the thread new, ready, runnable, running state is there, right? So at any point of any state, we can modify the, we can set the name of the thread. That's what the meaning of you can change the name of a thread at any state of thread. We have thread states is there like ready, runnable, and waiting state, terminated state. There are a lot of other states is 5 states is there that we'll see soon also, that those also. Now let's take it off. Yeah, this is name of the thread. This is of name of thread again. So changing the thread when thread is active. So we can do the name of the thread at any point of time. That's what before starting of a thread and after starting of a thread. Okay, and thread is sleeping time also is there. Thread is 5 seconds. 5000 milliseconds means it is of 5 seconds. So thread will sleep for 5 seconds. If you want, let's see that. While thread is in sleeping mode, if any exception is coming, it will throw an interrupted exception. Someone is interrupted me while it is sleeping. So that time, if any thread is interrupted, then it will throw an exception called interrupted exception. Interrupted exception, it will throw that. Now let's, if you want, we can see of this. And reserve user thread equal to giving same object name new thread. Yes. Okay. See? So what I'm doing first, I'm changing the name of the thread and started. Again I'm changing the thread and then so I'm writing thread does not sleep. My thread is whatever the thread it is created. So it is sleeping in the sleeping mode 5 seconds. Okay. And then it is again it is changing of thread name. Let's see. User thread is started and it will wait for 5 seconds. And then it is exited. Till now it is in red mark. Okay. Now if you want you can observe it. See, it is in red only. So red only means the program still running. See, after that only it is gone. Or else if you have any doubt, it will be waiting in that 5 seconds. We have given right. Main end. Thread is running. After 5 seconds, let's see. See, main is end. So because I'm waiting my thread as 5 seconds sleeping time. Okay. At any point of time we can set the name the because reason is we can set that name of the thread at any point of time. For that purpose only I have given this one. Okay. Now default name of the thread is like I told you. So the name of default name of the thread, thread 0, thread 1, thread 2, like that it is giving, right? Now, yeah. How exactly the default name of the thread is giving by JVM means all threads have names. If you are not providing the name of the thread will get the default name. Okay, the default name of the thread will be consist of the word thread. Okay, followed by hyphen and followed by integer number starting from 0. Let's say if you are creating of 1,000 threads means it will start from thread hyphen 0 1. So like that thread hyphen 999 until like that. If you are trying to create a 1,000 threads means if you are not giving any names to the threads, then it will start from thread hyphen 0 to thread hyphen 999. Okay, it will give the names like that. It will follow of the naming convention is thread hyphen and give you some integer number starting with 0. If it is only one thread means it will create of only thread hyphen 0. If you are creating a 5 threads means thread hyphen 01, thread hyphen 01, sorry, thread hyphen 0, thread hyphen 1, thread hyphen 2, thread hyphen 3, thread hyphen 4, like that it will create the threads. Okay, that's what the default naming of threads. Already we have seen that, right? If you are not giving any name, if we are not giving any name, see that not out that println of thread dot get name. It will give of let's see thread hyphen 0. Thread hyphen 0. If you are creating one more object, just assume one more object, one more thread, then thread 1. Okay? Thread 1 dot start also. Now let's see. I'm printing off thread 1. Okay. Two times it is executed because two threads were created, right? See, it is created of thread 1. Okay. So like that, it will by default naming convention of thread is thread hyphen integer number. Okay. Now retrieving the name of a priority thread. Retrieving the name of a retrieve name of priority thread or main thread. Main thread means main method is going to execute by JVM. So even JVM also will create some threads to execute main method. Even JVM also will create a threads to execute of main method. Now let's see without doing anything, let's create a one more class test for get main method. So I told you to starting of main method also. For starting of main method also internally JVM will create some thread. The name of the thread is called as main thread. The name of the thread of main method for starting of main method by the JVM will call it as that as a thread dot current thread. Thread dot current thread. Okay. This main method is used thread, the meaning of that. Dot get name. It will give the name of the thread which is calling by main method. It is of main. Okay. So can you change the means? Yes, we can change. If you want to change the name of the thread means, then we can change that name of the thread. Right? Now in that case, let's create object of this first. Called thread. Thread th. Okay. Now th dot set name. This is my thread. I'm giving name for this thread as this is my thread. Okay. Now let's see. It will give the name of the thread is instead of main, it is giving this is my thread, the name, or else IBC thread, IBC techno thread. Now let's see. The name of the main thread is now it is changing to IBC techno thread. The name of the thread it is printing. Okay. So we can change the name of the main thread also. The meaning of this. Okay. Now let's go to document and now whenever we are creating of multiple threads, whenever we are creating of multiple threads, there may be a chance of multiple people giving the same name. Let's say in your code and in my code both is given as a same name of the thread. For thread name we're given as the same name. Okay. Then in that case it is very difficult. Then in that case it is very difficult to identify of the thread, which thread is running, either your thread or my thread. So at the time of creating, at the time of creating a thread, for every thread it will create a some name, it will create some id also, it will create some id. Okay. Now let's go and read for unique key identification of thread. It will create some IDs. Now identify a thread. Let's wait. Yeah. So identifying a thread, we are creating a four threads. Okay, four threads are having same name. Then so how can you know that for which thread it is executed? Then for every thread, it is going to give you some unique key ID. Okay. So in multi-thread application, it is very important to know which thread is currently executing its task. Which thread is currently executing its task. So you can identifying a thread by its name. By using the name of the thread we can identify which thread is executing. But more than one thread, more than one thread can have same name. Okay, you are giving same name and I am giving also same name. Then how to know that which thread is executing, how to know that which thread is executing? This makes identifying a thread is more difficult. If the name is same, then it's very difficult to identifying then which thread is executing. So then in that case, JVM giving one more alternative way to identifying, that is JVM assigns at the time of creating object by the JVM, the thread. JVM assigns one unique long number, one unique long number for every thread created. Whenever it is creating a thread, it will assign some long number also that remains unchanged. That remains unchanged whole the lifetime of a thread. So until completing of that thread execution, that number will never be changed. So this number can be used to identify a thread. That method is called as get id method. Get id method. Let's take it off. Let's take it. Any thread. Let's take it off user thread. Test for right. Yeah, let's remove this. Okay, and create a thread. Okay, user thread create two times. Okay, user thread t1 equal to new t1. Okay, so t1 dot start. Okay, now inside this thread just use of system dot out dot println of get thread dot get id. Get of thread not here, directly we can use of here system dot out dot println of t1 thread id. Okay, t1 dot get id. Create of one more thread. Create of one more thread. Now we are setting a just assume system T1 dot set name. Set name. Just assume I'm giving name as IBC only. Here also I'm giving as IBC. IBC, okay? It is of thread 2. It is also 2. Is also 2. And give this as 2 T2 dot ID. Now let's say both the names I'm giving as same name. Okay? But it will give as a different see the thread id is giving as 10 for this and thread id is giving as 11 for this. Now let's try it again now. So 10 is first time and 11. Okay, until the execution of that until executing of that again, so it won't change that value. Okay, now if I are giving of one more, then for that it will give as 3 3 3 3 and thread 3 thread 3 dot id. Now it is going to give off some number. Okay, some unique long number it is going to give that. Okay, so this is what giving of identification of a thread by using get id. Okay, now next is this is of identifying a thread. Next is thread priorities. Next is thread priorities. So while executing of thread priorities, okay, while executing priority, which thread will give chance? Let's say three threads are waiting. Okay, let's say currently one thread is executing in the waiting mode. While one thread is executing, rest of the two threads will be in the waiting mode. Okay, once the first thread is finished its execution or it is giving chance to some other threads, okay, then only the other threads will start its execution. So on what basis the other threads will give chance, the jvm will give chance? There is a priority. So which thread is priority? So it's based on jvm will give some priority. Let's say for example of paint. Okay, let's say this is one thread, this is another thread, this is one more thread. Okay, just assume of T1, okay, and T2, and this is of T3. Okay, this is of T3. JVM is executing. Okay, just assume JVM is executing currently this thread. Just assume this thread is executing by JVM and remaining two threads T2 and T3 are in the waiting mode. Okay, so once the T1 is finished execution, just assume T1 task is completed, then another through T2 and T3 are in the waiting state. So JVM will assign to execute of either T2 or T3. JVM will start executing either T2 or T3. On what basis it will assign that? On what basis it will start its execution? Either T2 will start or T3 will start means. So there is some priorities available. There are some priority, min priority, max priority, and normal priority. Based on this priority, whichever the priority is there for that thread, based on that it will start execution. The default priority for the any thread is normal priority, that is 5. Okay, if you are changing the priority of that, then based on that priority which we modified, we can modify also the priority of a thread. Based on that, jvm will pick to start its execution of that thread based on priority. Now let's see. So Java application can have more than one threads running simultaneously. At a time, we can run off more than one threads. Okay, a thread with highest priority is chosen first. For any thread out of, let's say out of 10 threads is waiting for the JVM. Okay, to start its execution. So out of 10 threads, whichever is having high priority, So 1 is the least priority, 10 is the highest priority. Out of that, whichever is having the highest priority, those threads will be started by the JVM. Okay. Now So the valid range of thread priorities are 1 to 10. We can't give more than 10 guys. Either we should give lowest priority 1 or max priority 10. We can't give as 11 as a highest priority 11, 10, 20. Let's say 20 threads is there. You can't give the max priority is 20. So out of 1 to 10, you can give off any one priority. Either 1 is the lowest priority or highest priority. If you want 10, you need to give. Okay. Now the thread class defines the following constants. Thread class defines following constants. We have priority. Now let's see. We have this min underscore. Yeah, see, it is of min priority is 1, normal priority is 5, and max priority is 10. Okay, these are the priorities that if by default will get off. Default priority that will be assigned to the thread is normal priority 5. Okay, for your thread you want to execute highest priority, then you need to set that priority as 10. Okay, there is a method for setting the priority. See, set priority of 10 or get priority to know that get priority is there. Now let's say for all of them, for all of them, system.out.println priority, priority dot get priority. Okay, if you want, you can get off all the priorities. T1, T2. You will get off default is 5 is the normal priority for all. Okay, now if you want to change that priority to that, then you need to set that by using a t1 dot set priority equal to, you can give as 10 highest priority. Okay, you can give t2 dot set priority, I can give as least priority. Okay, now let's see t3 priority, t3 thread priority, t1, t2. So T1 we set as 10, T1 we set as 10, T2 we set as lowest priority 1, highest priority. T1 is highest priority, T2 is lowest priority, T3 is normal priority. Now let's see. See, T3 is the normal priority. T1 is having highest priority. T2 having lowest priority. Okay. These are setting of the priorities. Setting of priorities to the threads. See, font, you can see that. Based on the priority, it will execute, guys. Now let's say if you want, we'll see that also practically. Now instead of this, print of some numbers and know the which thread is giving executing that of 10. Keep it 10. System.out.println of thread name. Okay. And we'll give names to the threads also, right? It is better. Already given IBC 1 or else thread 1. I'm giving name to thread 1, and for this name as thread 2. For this I'm giving name as thread 3. Okay. Now for thread 3 I'll make the priority as for 3 it is making as a default priority. Thread 1 as make thread 1 is least priority. We'll try that. Thread 2 is highest priority. Okay. Now start it. Where is that? Where we are written? Yeah. Plus thread dot current name dot get name. Five times it will execute that. where the daemon thread, where you have written my thread, remove this, thread 4. Yeah, now see first thread 1 is started, id is 10. Next thread 2, is started, thread 2 is having highest priority, and here we need to give off the priority. After some time it is going to waiting state, and then it will give to chance to some other thread. Even it will give chance to some other thread. It is of thread 2 for some time, thread 3 for some time, thread 1 for some time. So it is of based on JVM, it will give to which thread you want to give the next priority. That will be depends on purely on JVM internal. It contains of some thread scheduler. Thread schedulers will be purely based on that. It will execute that. Okay, that's what the meaning of this one. Min priority, normal priority, and max priority. Okay, so this is what for today's class, guys, and then please go through that. If you have any doubts, we'll discuss tomorrow. Okay, and that's what for today's class, guys. Thank you, we'll meet tomorrow. Any doubt you can ask me if you have. If no doubt, we can wind up the class. Thank you, guys.